Greetings. There is an old Indian story about the 7 blind men who were led towards an elephant and asked to tell everyone what they thought an elephant was. And the one walked up and touched the side of the elephant and said, "The elephant is like a wall." Another touched the tusk and said, "The elephant is like a spear." A third touched one of the legs and said, "The elephant is like the trunk of a tree." If each of them had remained in their own position of what the elephant was like, we would only get a one-sided truth. Even in putting the 7 opinions and experiences of the 7 blind men together, we can only find a particular aspect or 7 aspects that together make a more composite whole picture of the reality of what an elephant is like. And while we might find these tales, legends, interesting or quirky, they do offer us an interesting window into how we experience the world around us. We have lost our ability, or we at least struggle with our ability these days, to live in the paradox of truth. In the Western philosophies, we tend to live in an either-or mentality. Either it's true or it's false. Either you're telling the truth or you're lying. And many different places, disciplines, fields of research try to define how one particular way of seeing something is the best way, the true way, and tries to refute all other ways as being false. True and false is not how the world really works. Even when we come to a simple thing like an incident in a schoolyard, we can see that the teachers are needing to learn things such as restorative justice, which is where the children are asked to sit down with each other, talk it through from everyone's point of view, whatever the incident was, and then find together a way to restore the relationship. If a community has a rupture within it, we need to find a way to repair the community. And we discover very quickly that there is no simple one truth, that this person was wrong and that other person was correct. We find that in everyone's story there are aspects of the truth. Everyone's experience of the event has a witnessing effect, that they saw and experienced and obviously interpreted it through their own soul and emotions and mind and presented in a particular way, but they hold an aspect of the truth. And we come to realize that there are many truths that are true, and it is increasingly difficult when people, out of a highly individuated mentality, decide to take ethical choices that stand outside our traditional codes of behavior, where we could have said this is right or that is wrong, and if it is wrong, this is the just punishment or the just consequence by which people can feel that the debt or the injury has been repaid before forgiveness is done. But in the court systems, we find that even when we do manage to get a judgment, people still feel injured. People still feel that even though justice has been served, there is something deeply lacking. And this is because we have lost our ability in the West to live with the paradox. We want finality, we want conclusion, and we want particular outcomes according to codes that are possibly, in fact most likely, no longer valid. We discover that the codes of social ethics are at best created by communities that have long passed. It be the Roman law or biblical law, are people who lived in other times, in other cultures, and we try to uphold lists of behavior by which our conscience can be pricked or held accountable. But we discover more and more that this is not really true. This does not hold our soul as strongly as it used to. Yes, obviously in society we need certain things that are black and white. It's not okay to kill another person. But the truth of why it happened is always paradoxical. And we discover that as we live in this world, there is already an implicit paradox that we in the West are finding more and more difficult to accept and work with as a mutual dynamic. And that is that there is a physical world with physical laws and boundaries, but there is also an immaterial, psychic or spiritual world that affects this material world that works with another set of laws. And these two worlds seem to be mutually exclusive. However, in reality, they are not mutually exclusive. They are paradoxically complementary to each other. And so whenever we have one truth, we could say that there will immediately be an opposite opinion or an opposite truth, and both of those possibly have opposites of themselves. And when we want to try and find the reality, the definition, or understand any given situation or set of facts in front of us, we probably need to find a whole circle of opinion. If we look at the structure of our solar system in its current definition, we see that the light of the sun is surrounded by the 12 signs of the zodiac, each giving another aspect of the light into our solar system. And within that, we have at least 7, if not 9 or 10 or 11 different planets working rhythmically through those 12 signs. And so an immense complexity, an immense rhythm, an immense creativity, and an immense harmony of position and insight is given to throw light onto any given situation. If we want to understand the earth, we must follow not only the light of the sun and what it reveals to our physical senses, but we must also understand the rhythms and the workings of the various influences from the rhythms of the planets and the stars that also form part of what it means to be the earth in our times. We could then say, drawing conclusions from that to find the truth of any situation, we may need various insights. We might need a materialistic insight, a spiritual insight, a romantic insight, a realistic insight, an intellectual insight, a mathematical insight, all sorts of different ways of looking at any given situation, all need to stand complementarily in relationship with each other. And so as we try to move into a society where the individual is trying more and more to ponder how they want to act in the world, to live in the paradox of the consequences of action, to live in the paradox of understanding the whys and wherefores of any given situation, is a faculty that we will have to learn to live with, not only individually, which at this point is probably where most of us are most comfortable. We can live with the contradictions, with the paradoxes of our own soul. Walt Whitman said, "I contradict myself?" Yes, I do. I contradict myself. But when it comes to the paradoxes and the complications and the convolutions of community and insights and opinions of how people can do, we need to open our minds to a far greater and more subtle listening about the various soul gestures of the various people who are, so to say, at the table with us in any given event. This is a new meta skill where the truth is no longer this over that. It is not an either-or situation anymore. The truth is becoming more and more a paradoxical complexity, a conglomerate of people's insights from various points of view that need to be taken into consideration. This will require of us newer or renewals of older versions of working in circles of people to listen to each other, the talking stick of the Maori, or listening in a circle of people until everyone has spoken, and then only coming to some sense of conclusion. Solomon, in his wisdom, was said to have had this ability to listen to everyone's point of view and then speak the truth. And generally, if one wants to put it in a broad sense, one finds that one has to learn to live and let live, and not fight to uphold one's own opinion over and above the other. We all want our insight to be respected and valued and taken into consideration as part of the solutions or our approach to situations. But we also need to find the magnanimity, the greatness of soul, to allow other people's creativity and insights to form and inform how we ourselves understand the truth of a situation. So as we move into the moral, ethical freedom of the individual, the norms of either or lists of societal rules will start to no longer be able to be called upon on how we judge a situation to have had a just outcome. Far more will we find that we need social courtrooms where a group of people find the correct outcomes for things. And the paradox of truth is something that will become a social creative force amongst ourselves. No longer the either or of science and materialism, but this, as well as that, being the social formative forces of the future.